Welcome back, everyone. I hope you all okay. Please press the like button and consider subscribing for future updates. Ye Feng, a once internet-addicted otaku from his homeworld, found himself thrust into the martial-centric realm of the XuanTian Continent. His arrival coincided with a revelation about this world's fervent pursuit of martial prowess. Here, aspiring individuals clamored to join esteemed sects, even those newly formed like the Star Soul sect, which had sprung up just 2 weeks prior. Initially hesitant to partake in the bustling assessments, Ye Feng opted to stay inconspicuous, seeking a place to observe quietly. However, his plans were interrupted when two figures gracefully descended before the Star Soul sect. Among them was Luo QianXue, the sect's captivating leader, who promptly outlined the day's entrance criteria. Disregarding conventional standards such as age and cultivation level, Luo QianXue's decree sparked an immediate frenzy of hope among the gathered crowd. Yet amidst the excitement, Ye Feng found himself captivated not by the promise of martial prowess, but by Luo QianXue's unparalleled beauty, which eclipsed even the most renowned influencers of his former world. However, her announcement of a singular requirement cast a pall over the gathering. Within the span of an hour, each aspirant must produce 10,000 low-grade spirit stones to secure admission. The joyous atmosphere soured as the realization of the exorbitant demand sank in. One by one, hopeful faces turned crestfallen as they declined the offer. In an instant, the Star Soul sect's burgeoning reputation plummeted like a shooting star. Even Ye Feng was taken aback by the audacity of such a demand in this unfamiliar world. He couldn't imagine anyone agreeing to such terms. Just as he pondered the situation, a system window unexpectedly materialized before him, signaling the awakening of his cheat ability, the Invincible Spendthrift system. Ye Feng had anticipated waiting years for its activation, yet here it was, unfolding before him sooner than expected. However, the system's workings seemed somewhat perplexing at first. The system clarified its purpose succinctly: spend money to grow stronger. The more extravagantly Ye Feng spent, the more the system would enhance his abilities. Curious, Ye Feng accessed the system's information panel. True to its name, the system provided an endless reservoir of spirit stones and presented a new spendthrift item daily. The catch? Ye Feng must spend all of it daily to accrue spendthrift points, crucial for advancing his strength. Failure to exhaust the daily allowance would result in deduction of these points. Among the listed spendthrift items was a staggering entry: 10,000 Tier 9 Heavenly Thunder Talismans. It became evident that the system not only facilitated spending but also rewarded Ye Feng with points that could be exchanged for realms, martial skills, divine powers, and other invaluable resources. Feeling the weight of responsibility, Ye Feng faced his first task from the system: join the Star Soul sect. Meanwhile, Luo QianXue's imposition of the stringent requirement was not arbitrary. She was compelled by her father, Luo Wuming, the formidable leader of the Star Extreme sect on the XuanTian Continent. Establishing the Star Soul sect was intended to cultivate her temperament, a directive she begrudgingly adhered to, desiring only to focus on her cultivation and ascendancy. However, beneath her aloof facade lay a deeper motivation. Luo QianXue harbored a secret. She was the reincarnation of a revered holy woman from the higher realms, driven by a fervent desire for vengeance. In the present moment, as silence greeted her lofty demand, Luo QianXue prepared to depart, convinced no one could possibly meet her price. Before she could take another step, a male voice called out to her, "Sect Leader, please wait. I wish to join. Seeing that the sect is in dire need of funds at its inception, I am willing to contribute 100,000 low-grade spirit stones." The unexpected declaration left Luo QianXue momentarily stunned. She couldn't fathom that someone in this remote place could afford such a princely sum. Turning around, she beheld a young man approaching them. It was none other than Ye Feng. Despite earlier thoughts about the folly of such extravagance, he now stood before her, willing to be that very fool. With a confident demeanor, Ye Feng produced a ring containing exactly 100,000 low-grade spirit stones. Today, he was determined to join the Star Soul sect. Accepting the storage ring from Ye Feng, Luo QianXue inspected its contents with growing surprise. True to his word, it held the promised sum. She was incredulous not only that someone here could afford it, but also by the sheer generosity displayed. Unable to contain her curiosity, Luo QianXue asked cautiously, "Are you certain about joining our sect?" She proceeded to outline the current state of the sect, lacking even basic accommodations. Ye Feng brushed off her concerns casually, stating, "No problem. I have ample resources. I can assist in building our sect." This declaration left Luo QianXue feeling defeated yet determined to dissuade Ye Feng. She believed his joining would only burden the sect, lacking as it was in resources. But Ye Feng, buoyed by the assurances of his spendthrift system, remained resolute. He pledged to provide for the sect's needs in the future. Exasperated, Luo QianXue's frustration peaked. Ye Feng, meanwhile, began to sense her reluctance. Suppressing her vexation, Luo QianXue pondered inwardly. Where did this madman come from? Luo QianXue's inner turmoil reached a fever pitch. She genuinely didn't want anyone to join her sect and was on the brink of losing her composure. The thought of rejecting Ye Feng outright crossed her mind, even to the point of considering drastic measures. However, bound by her earlier promise, she knew she couldn't renege. Through clenched teeth, she relented. "You can join, but I won't provide guidance in cultivation. You'll have to fend for yourself." This declaration caught Ye Feng off guard, but after a moment's reflection, he realized he might not need external instruction after all. Seeing him hesitate, Luo QianXue hoped her conditions would dissuade him. To her astonishment, Ye Feng responded nonchalantly, "Sect Leader, don't worry. I don't require anything." Inside, Ye Feng rejoiced at the prospect of joining a sect where he could pursue his objectives without constraints. Why wouldn't he seize this opportunity? This time, it was Luo QianXue who felt utterly defeated. She nearly collapsed in frustration, unable to comprehend why Ye Feng would joyfully part with such a vast sum of spirit stones. Did fate intend to torment her with this trial? Consumed by rage, Luo QianXue drew her weapon, ready to lash out at Ye Feng. However, Old Bai, a senior figure beside her, intervened swiftly, restraining her with a firm grasp. "Young miss, we can't make matters worse," Old Bai advised calmly. "The sect must accept at least one disciple." Ye Feng watched dumbfounded as this tense scene unfolded before him. He couldn't understand why his generous contribution hadn't elicited gratitude from Luo QianXue. After a moment of tense silence, Luo QianXue begrudgingly accepted Ye Feng into the sect, her resentment palpable. Ye Feng, however, remained unfazed. Having completed his task, he earned a substantial 200 spendthrift points. Now, he could embark on his journey of spending and growth with the Invincible spendthrift system. Excitedly, Ye Feng consulted the system to inquire about more tasks. Although he wasn't yet sure how spendthrift points could be utilized, he was eager to accumulate more of them. The system replied that during periods without specific tasks, he could engage in spendthrift behaviors independently. While the amount of resources spent didn't directly correlate with the points earned, any extravagant action would contribute to his total. With this in mind, Ye Feng devised a plan. He approached Luo QianXue decisively, pointing out that since he was now the only disciple, wouldn't that make him her direct disciple? To his surprise, Luo QianXue flatly refused, finding it troublesome enough to admit him to the sect, let alone take him on as her personal disciple. Undeterred, Ye Feng proposed an alternative. He wanted to buy the position of direct disciple. This suggestion caught both of them off guard for a moment. Considering her options, Luo QianXue chuckled at the audacity of his proposal. She promptly quoted a staggering price of 100,000 high-quality spirit stones, believing it to be an amount beyond his means. Ye Feng was momentarily dumbfounded by the figure. It seemed almost too incredible to be true. Sensing his hesitation, Luo QianXue felt a twinge of satisfaction, thinking she had finally posed an insurmountable obstacle. After all, even some third-rate sects might struggle to gather such a sum. However, her satisfaction was short-lived. To her astonishment, Ye Feng didn't hesitate for long. In the next instant, he produced a storage ring containing 500,000 high-quality spirit stones. The sheer amount left Luo QianXue speechless. Ye Feng's swift response and lavish display of wealth stunned her. Secretly delighted, Ye Feng reveled in his ability to indulge freely with the spirit stones. Unsurprisingly, the system recognized this spendthrift behavior as reasonable and rewarded Ye Feng with another 200 spendthrift points. Meanwhile, Luo QianXue found herself questioning her life choices at that moment. A sum of 500,000 high-quality spirit stones could elevate any third-rate sect to prominence, yet Ye Feng had chosen hers. Sighing deeply, she couldn't help but wonder why fate had brought him to her doorstep. With a heavy heart, Luo QianXue begrudgingly honored her agreement and appointed Ye Feng as her main disciple, presenting him with the mystic azure sword as a welcoming gift. Internally, she felt deeply embarrassed. As a dignified figure from the infinite holy grounds, she had not only accepted a bargain for a direct disciple, but also had to bestow him with a gift. The thought of this becoming public knowledge filled her with shame. Meanwhile, Ye Feng was moved to the point of tears upon receiving the mystic azure sword. However, his joy was short-lived when the system reprimanded him. According to its principles, a true spendthrift should never accept gifts. Consequently, Ye Feng lost 20 spendthrift points. He could restore them by returning the sword within an hour. Frustrated by the system's strict rules, Ye Feng hastily knelt down, returning the mystic azure sword to Luo QianXue with both hands. Confused by his actions, Luo QianXue asked, "What are you doing?" Ye Feng explained that his intention was to spend money, not to receive things for free. Luo QianXue's fury ignited upon hearing this. She snatched back the mystic azure sword immediately, rebuking Ye Feng sharply. "Do you truly believe everything can be bought with money? If you don't appreciate my gesture, then don't bother accepting it at all." Annoyed and disappointed, she couldn't help but wonder what kind of disciple Ye Feng was. In her eyes, he lacked an understanding of value. The mystic azure sword was a 7th-order spirit tool, a precious treasure of the sect, and yet he dared to treat it so lightly. With a face full of resentment, Luo QianXue flew away in frustration, leaving Ye Feng perplexed and feeling somewhat chastised. Turning to Old Bai, Ye Feng asked, "Isn't the sect leader quite dense?" She missed out on a chance to profit. Old Bai cautioned him to keep his thoughts to himself, warning of dire consequences if Luo QianXue overheard. As Ye Feng pondered these events, Old Bai couldn't help but wonder privately, how could an ordinary person possess such immense wealth? With Luo QianXue's demeanor visibly altered since Ye Feng's arrival, it seemed he held the key to breaking her stagnation. Recognizing this potential, Old Bai quickly escorted Ye Feng back to the sect. Unperturbed by the journey, Ye Feng lounged on the flying sword, idly counting birds passing by, even allowing one to nest on his head out of sheer boredom. To occupy his time, Ye Feng turned his attention to understanding how to utilize his spendthrift points. Activating his personal information panel, he discovered that his spendthrift points had already amassed to 400, with today's earnings yet to be applied. "Is this the advantage of having cheats?" he mused aloud. The system then elucidated on the different realms Ye Feng could enhance with his spendthrift points. Starting from the basic Spirit Sea realm, each upgrade required 10 points. Moving up to the Qi activation realm demanded 100 points per level, with the costs escalating steeply for higher realms like Merging Spirit, Foundation, and beyond. Ye Feng was taken aback by the exponential increase in points required for each subsequent realm. "Isn't this increasing tenfold?" he pondered aloud. Nevertheless, he proceeded to explore the Spendthrift Mall, where various containers were available for purchase, each costing 100 spendthrift points. These containers offered a chance, albeit extremely low, to obtain high-tier rewards. After careful consideration, Ye Feng concluded that while the cost seemed steep, the potential rewards made it worthwhile. Yet, he hesitated. Even if he were to acquire a high-tier reward, would it truly benefit him? Sensing his uncertainty, the system intervened to clarify. It explained that certain actions, like crushing a 9th-grade elixir in front of an alchemist, constituted spendthrift actions. This insight widened Ye Feng's perspective. He realized that spendthrift actions weren't merely about acquiring tangible rewards, but also about strategically leveraging them to his advantage in various situations. Ye Feng indeed harbored the desire to flaunt his wealth, but as an inexperienced cultivator, he realized that boasting his riches among seasoned cultivators could potentially lead to disastrous consequences. Instead, he focused on gaining power through his spendthrift points. Driven by this goal, Ye Feng decided to spend 90 spendthrift points to elevate his strength to the 9th level of the Spirit Sea realm. The sudden breakthrough caught Old Bai's attention. Turning around in surprise, Old Bai observed in astonishment. This kid is actually forming his Spirit Sea. Halting their flight, Old Bai scrutinized the spiritual energy swirling around Ye Feng. His shock deepened as he realized the sheer magnitude of spiritual energy Ye Feng was harnessing. It was more than enough to sustain dozens of ordinary cultivators forming their Spirit Sea. Ye Feng himself, in his trance-like state of cultivation, couldn't comprehend why it was taking so long to form his Spirit Sea. Unbeknownst to him, more and more spiritual energy gathered around him, astonishing Old Bai even further. Is he attempting to break through further? Old Bai wondered aloud. Typically, forming the spirit sea was a foundational step in cultivation, requiring a serene environment and the aid of potent elixirs to aid in the process. Moreover, after formation, it usually took time for the spirit sea to stabilize. Yet, Old Bai hadn't noticed Ye Feng consuming any elixirs, let alone performing the formation process mid-flight. Moments later, Old Bai's amazement reached new heights as Ye Feng's realm continuously surged forward, abruptly advancing from the first level to the peak of the 9th level of the Spirit Sea realm. Old Bai was utterly flabbergasted. What kind of genius is this? He muttered to himself in disbelief. After the breakthrough concluded, Ye Feng woke from his cultivation state. However, instead of satisfaction, he felt a slight disappointment. It took a whole 10 minutes, Ye Feng lamented inwardly. To him, 10 minutes seemed excruciatingly long. Shouldn't such a breakthrough have been instantaneous? Turning to Old Bai with a puzzled expression, Ye Feng innocently asked, "Old Bai, it took me 10 minutes to advance through 9 realms. The SEK master would deem me a failure?" Old Bai was at a loss for words. He wondered if Ye Feng would even come close to qualifying as a failure. Back then, even with abundant resources, it had taken Old Bai 8 months to ascend from forming the Spirit Sea to reaching the peak of the 9th level. It was at that moment that Old Bai realized why Ye Feng had declined to learn cultivation techniques or use weapons. He must have his own powerful technique, Old Bai thought to himself, but Ye Feng seemed perplexed. "What technique?" he asked. "I don't have one." Old Bai couldn't hide his disbelief upon hearing this. To confirm the truth, he personally examined Ye Feng, and once again, he was shocked. Ye Feng had no spiritual roots, yet his spirit sea was vast, akin to an endless ocean. At this juncture, Old Bai was thoroughly puzzled. He decided to wait until they returned to the sect so that the young mistress could assess the situation. Upon reaching the Star Soul sect, Old Bai reported Ye Feng's breakthrough to Luo QianXue. His spirit sea was 20 times larger than hers, and he had rapidly ascended to the peak of the spirit sea realm. What baffled everyone even more was the fact that Ye Feng had no spiritual roots. Luo QianXue was taken aback. She decided to personally investigate. To her astonishment, what Old Bai had said was indeed true. She asked incredulously, "Ye Feng, how did you achieve this breakthrough without spiritual roots?" Suddenly, mocking laughter echoed from outside. The Full Moon sect had arrived, seeking an audience with the sect master of the Star Soul sect. An elderly man spoke with a hint of malice. "Why is the Star Soul sect so secretive? Surely you can't have no disciples." Luo QianXue was truly vexed. She had just taken on a peculiar new disciple today, which was already proving to be quite a handful, and now she had to deal with these visitors. How was she supposed to cultivate in peace? She strode out to confront them, demanding to know their intentions. The elderly man explained that he had heard about the Star Soul sect's requirement of 10,000 low-grade spirit stones for membership, which intrigued him greatly. He brought his disciples to see for themselves and issued a challenge, a match to test their skills. This only fueled Luo QianXue's anger further. Normally, she could have simply refused such a nuisance. But then she considered, if Ye Feng learned a lesson from this, would he stay with the Star Soul sect? So, she allowed Ye Feng to accept the challenge. Ye Feng agreed readily, but he needed clarification. Could he use talismans? After all, he still had 10,000 talismans left to expend. Upon hearing that talismans were allowed, Ye Feng stepped confidently onto the field. He summoned his heavenly thunder talismans, stacking them into a small mountain, stunning the disciples of the Full Moon sect. They couldn't fathom how he possessed so many powerful talismans. Each heavenly thunder talisman radiated energy on par with a 9th grade spirit item, capable of unleashing attacks at the peak of the 9th level Spirit Sea realm. The elderly man was dumbfounded. His 3 disciples were only at the 9th level of the Spirit Sea realm. Even if he had more disciples, they couldn't hope to compete with Ye Feng's overwhelming arsenal. But Ye Feng paid no mind to their astonishment. "You said I could use talismans?" he remarked casually as he gleefully launched the heavenly thunder talismans, reveling in the confrontation. Explosions reverberated across the field in rapid succession. Luo QianXue and the others watched in awe. Each of those talismans was a 9th grade heavenly thunder talisman, worth at least 1,000 low-grade spirit stones apiece. To cultivators of their level, each talisman was a precious trump card. Yet here was Ye Feng, tossing them around as if they were mere trinkets, challenging their perception of value and power. The 3 disciples from the Full Moon sect were utterly stunned, hastily urging their master to retreat, muttering about Ye Feng being a cheating opponent. Luo QianXue, meanwhile, was thoroughly exasperated. How had Ye Feng amassed such wealth? She had initially anticipated he might suffer a defeat and depart on his own, but that hope seemed dashed now. Ye Feng looked at his master with a smug expression, as if silently asking, "I did well, didn't I?" However, Luo QianXue misinterpreted his demeanor, thinking Ye Feng believed her to be weak, hence why she had him confront the disciples of the Full Moon sect. Clearly, she would need to assert her authority as his master later. After hours of relentless bombardment, the Full Moon sect disciples were thoroughly battered and defeated, reduced to desperate dodging. Ye Feng was ecstatic, thoroughly enjoying the spectacle as he continued to unleash talismans without restraint. Finally, the disciples could endure no more and pleaded tearfully to their master for rescue. The elderly man seemed to misunderstand the situation, assuming that Ye Feng had been supplied with all those talismans by the Star Soul sect. No wonder their entry requirements were so stringent. Realizing they had underestimated their opponent, the elderly man decided it was time to retreat with his disciples. Sensing an opportunity, Luo QianXue decided to teach the old man a lesson. She revealed her true strength in the original spirit realm, leaving the elderly man utterly speechless. Even their sect leader was only at the divine repository realm. With Luo QianXue's power, she could single-handedly decimate their entire sect. Although Luo QianXue didn't intend to annihilate them, she demanded a harsh lesson be learned. In order to save their lives, the Full Moon sect disciples had no choice but to comply with her demand that each leave an arm behind. It was a stark reminder of the consequences of underestimating the Star Soul sect and its disciples. Finally, Luo QianXue ordered the Full Moon sect disciples to leave. Witnessing this display of authority, Ye Feng felt a genuine sense of fear. He hadn't realized his elegant master could be so ruthless. Maintaining her outward composure, Luo QianXue instructed Ye Feng to collect the remaining heavenly thunder talismans. Internally, however, she felt conflicted and helpless. Despite everything that had transpired, she couldn't bring herself to drive Ye Feng away. At this moment, Ye Feng made an unexpected request. With over 9,000 heavenly thunder talismans still in his possession, he proposed that Luo QianXue join him in using them up. Stunned by this audacious request, Luo QianXue was briefly speechless. Seeing Ye Feng's nonchalant attitude, she eventually acquiesced, curious to see how long he could sustain this extravagant behavior. Thus, the two of them began hurling heavenly thunder talismans into the air. Witnessing the spectacular display, Luo QianXue was reminded of a memory from her past, when her junior sister had once asked her to set off fireworks together. She recalled her sister's words, "If we can't enjoy ourselves to the fullest, wouldn't it be a pity?" Reflecting on this, Luo QianXue realized her junior sister had been right in many ways. Meanwhile, Old Bai, who had been on the verge of sleeping inside the sect, was suddenly startled awake by the continuous explosions. Initially mistaking it for an enemy attack, he quickly dressed and rushed outside to investigate. Upon seeing the scene, Old Bai was utterly dumbfounded. Ye Feng and Luo QianXue were recklessly expending heavenly thunder talismans. By now, even Luo QianXue had succumbed to Ye Feng's wasteful behavior, casually explaining that they were simply disposing of the talismans. Amidst this chaos, Ye Feng invited Old Bai to join in the fun. Outraged by the frivolity and waste, Old Bai immediately reprimanded Ye Feng, delivering a sharp blow to his head. "What nonsense are you two up to? Each of these talismans costs 1,000 low-grade spirit stones. Even the wealthy Star Soul sect can't afford to waste resources like this. And young lady, what has gotten into you? Why are you participating in this folly?" As Old Bai's initial anger dissipated, Ye Feng pulled out 100,000 high-grade spirit stones with a slight smile, apologizing for disturbing Old Bai's sleep and offering them as compensation. Old Bai's demeanor swiftly changed. He tore open his shirt, revealing his muscular physique, and eagerly joined Ye Feng in the extravagant act of throwing talismans. The speed at which he hurled them took Ye Feng by surprise. Indeed, money had a way of influencing even the most unexpected situations. In the midst of their lavish display, a system notification popped up, rewarding Ye Feng with 100 wastrel points for his indulgence. It seemed even this was considered wasteful behavior, prompting Ye Feng to consider spending more spirit stones in the future to enlist Old Bai's help. Once they had expended all the talismans, Old Bai found himself reflecting on his life choices. He had never imagined he would feel so physically drained from simply tossing talismans. Nevertheless, he reminded Ye Feng that if there were any manual labor required, despite his age, he still possessed strength. Luo QianXue observed silently, foreseeing potential chaos within the Star Soul sect. She teasingly remarked to Old Bai, "You're one of the 8 senior elders of the Star Extreme sect. Did you sell yourself out for a mere 100,000 high-grade spirit stones?" Old Bai retorted firmly, "It's not about the spirit stones. It's about the dignity of the elderly." Just as they bantered, the system notification appeared again, rewarding Ye Feng with 1,000 wastrel points. With this accumulation, Ye Feng could potentially advance to the 9th level of the Q activation realm, an ideal number of points to break through the realm and have some leftover for treasures. Reflecting on the situation, they realized that relying solely on Old Bai might not be sufficient for quickly squandering resources in the Star Soul sect, where only 3 individuals resided. As more junior disciples were envisioned to expedite the sect's extravagance, a young man named Wu Feng appeared at the Star Soul sect's entrance, inquiring about their acceptance of new disciples. Entered the Star Soul sect, he felt something was amiss. The ground was full of craters, an old man who looked like he was on his last breath, a fierce-looking woman, and a man who appeared a bit simple-minded. Wu Feng instantly felt the sect was unreliable. He wondered if it was still early enough to make a run for it. Ye Feng warmly welcomed him, stating, "Yes, we are still recruiting. To join, you need to contribute 100,000 low-grade spirit stones. If you contribute 100,000 high-grade spirit stones, you can become the direct disciple of the sect master." He then proudly introduced himself, "I am Ye Feng, the first disciple of the sect and the eldest disciple of the sect master." This scene left Wu Feng dumbfounded. Ye Feng looked at him with anticipation, hoping he would say he didn't have the money. That way, Ye Feng could sponsor his entry. However, this idea was rejected by the system, claiming such a wasteful method was not justifiable unless a reasonable explanation was provided. Seeing this, Ye Feng quickly made up a reason. "We get along, all right? The moment I laid eyes on him, I felt like he was my brother from another mother. Is it wrong to spend a little more for my brother?" Surprisingly, the system accepted this reasoning. But at this time, Wu Feng was preparing to slip away. He felt the sect was all about money and not trustworthy. However, Ye Feng wasn't about to let him leave so easily, especially since he was key to Ye Feng's wasteful plans. Ye Feng swiftly locked Wu Feng in a chokehold, preventing him from leaving. Just then, Wu Feng received a message from his grandfather from the shadows. "Stay in this sect. Once I've dealt with my matters, I will come for you." Given that his grandfather had spoken, Wu Feng ceased his resistance. Meanwhile, at the sect's entrance, an old man watched the Star Soul sect, recognizing it as the sect founded by Luo Wuming's daughter. Seeing Old Bai also present reassured him, which is why he was comfortable letting Wu Feng join. Ye Feng then dragged Wu Feng to Luo QianXue and said, "Master, I want him as my junior disciple." Look at how obedient he looked. Wu Feng was at a loss, unable to understand why his grandfather insisted he stay in such an untrustworthy sect. But he had to obey his grandfather's wishes. Luo QianXue watched helplessly, thinking that since they already had someone like Ye Feng, what harm could another disciple do? She told Wu Feng to hand over 10,000 low-grade spirit stones, assuming the new recruit. Such a song. She thought this would deter him. However, Wu Feng, not lacking funds, promptly handed over 10,000 low-grade spirit stones, declaring his desire to join the Star Soul sect. Luo QianXue was taken aback. Hadn't this guy been extremely resistant? Wasn't he eager to leave just moments ago? She wondered if she had been secluded for too long. Was this kind of trickery now the trend among people? Luo QianXue had no choice but to accept Wu Feng. Yet she made it clear she wouldn't offer any guidance. He'd have to cultivate on his own. Luo QianXue thought that surely he wouldn't stay after this. However, much like Ye Feng before him, Wu Feng said he didn't need resources or instruction. All the materials he needed for his primary cultivation were already provided by his grandfather. This statement infuriated Luo QianXue. She couldn't understand why people nowadays enjoy playing the fool. Olbai, finding the situation amusing, congratulated Luo QianXue. "You've gained another disciple, miss." A defeated Luo QianXue could only accept her fate, stating she would provide guidance on their cultivation tomorrow, and advising them to find a place to stay on their own. She left with a heavy heart. Seeing this, Ye Feng grew slightly concerned for their lovely master. Would she be so upset that she becomes delirious? She's actually going to instruct them. Noticing Wu Feng's apparent wealth, Ye Feng, who had previously considered sponsoring him, decided not to assist him in becoming a direct disciple. Having one direct disciple, himself, was enough. At this point, Luo QianXue indeed felt delirious from anger. Afterward, Ye Feng struck up a conversation with his new junior, discovering his name was Long Wufeng. Taking advantage of his status as the eldest direct disciple, Ye Feng promptly promoted Wu Feng to an inner sect disciple. Wu Feng was speechless. His seniors seemed to be the most unreliable and not too bright. After settling down, Ye Feng prepared to fleece Wu Feng. Upon entering, he noticed an extraordinary alchemy furnace. "Wu Feng, are you an alchemist?" Proudly, Wu Feng raised 3 fingers, indicating he was a third-grade alchemist. His pride was understandable. In this world, roles like alchemists, artifact refiners, talisman masters, formation masters, etc., were highly revered. Merely holding such a title could earn you great respect, as even a small pill, a talisman, or a divine artifact could determine a person's cultivation and survival. In his mind, Wu Feng already imagined Ye Feng begging him to refine pills. Although he usually turned down such requests, Wu Feng would be more than happy to help his fated senior disciple. Apart from that, Wu Feng was at the peak of the merging spirit realm's 9th layer. If he revealed this to Ye Feng, his senior would undoubtedly be shocked. However, these were all figments of Wu Feng's imagination. Back to reality, Ye Feng's reaction to Wu Feng's alchemist status was simply a casual, "Oh," Wu Feng was baffled. "What's with that? I'm a third-grade alchemist. Is that all you have to say? Shouldn't you be astonished and then lavish me with praise?" At that moment, Ye Feng suddenly asked, "Among the third-grade spiritual herbs, which ones are particularly rare?" Wu Feng thought for a moment and replied, "Bamboo demon grass, white spirit flower, purple thunder fruit, and among others. Even a 9th-grade alchemist rarely encounters these." Ye Feng acknowledged his response. He then accessed the system, specifying the herbs that Wu Feng mentioned. He proceeded to open 4 jars. A short while later, after spending 200 spending points, he obtained 2 bamboo demon grass, 1 white spirit flower, and 3 purple thunder fruit. Seeing Ye Feng frozen in place, Wu Feng assumed that his senior didn't recognize these herbs and was feeling ignorant. Wu Feng consoled him, saying it was normal for those not trained in alchemy. However, to his surprise, Ye Feng suddenly bolted out, mentioning that he was getting water. Wu Feng chuckled internally, thinking his unpredictable senior was rather considerate. Wu Feng decided to craft a few more pills for him later. However, moments later, Ye Feng returned with a pot of soup. Wu Feng was taken aback when he recognized the rare herbs he had just mentioned floating in the broth. Hurriedly, Wu Feng fished the herbs out of the soup. After confirming their authenticity, he felt like he was about to explode. "Brother, you've wasted treasures." Without warning, Ye Feng snatched the herbs back from Wu Feng and casually remarked, "I heard that brewing spiritual herbs is beneficial for cultivators." "My mistake. I thought these few spiritual herbs were something special." As he spoke, Ye Feng proceeded to crush the herbs under his foot right in front of Wu Feng, even grinding them a few more times for good measure. Panicking, Wu Feng shouted, "Stop." He lunged towards Ye Feng, trying to salvage whatever was left of the herbs. But upon closer inspection, not even a trace of the herbs remained. Wu Feng felt numb from the shock. Ye Feng, having successfully wasted resources, earned 500 spending points. He chuckled, feeling that his waste had been profitable. After all, he had only destroyed 3 herbs, yet he still possessed 6 in total. At this point, Wu Feng felt utterly dejected. Witnessing such precious herbs being destroyed right in front of him was unbearable, especially considering that even his grandfather had never seen such rare herbs. Wu Feng was inconsolable. Crying bitterly, Ye Feng approached him to offer some comfort. It's okay. It's my fault for not recognizing the herbs since they're already crushed. Why don't you rest up? I'll be taking my leave first." Upon returning to his room, Ye Feng immediately used the precious herbs for a foot soak. It truly felt luxurious. However, what he failed to notice was his feet were gradually turning black. Just then, Wu Feng hurried over. Even though he didn't know where his senior acquired the rare herbs, he wanted to warn him about their proper usage. Of course, it wasn't that he coveted these valuable herbs. After all, these herbs could be used together or separately. But specifically, the bamboo demongrass and purple thunder fruit, when combined, produce a potent toxin. It's not deadly, but is troublesome to treat. Suddenly, Ye Feng's scream echoed. He had finally noticed his blackened feet. Seeing this, Wu Feng realized something was amiss. He forcefully kicked the door open. However, upon seeing the foot-soaking tub, Wu Feng was too shocked to speak. In a panic, Ye Feng asked him, "What's going on?" But Wu Feng wasn't really listening. His face had turned an alarming shade of dark. Once again, this act was considered a wasteful success. He was awarded another 1,500 spending points. Furthermore, 1,000 spending points could be used to cleanse the toxins from his feet. Receiving the system's solution, Ye Feng's fears were alleviated. Honestly, he hadn't thought about wasting the herbs in this way. That's why he decided to soak his feet in his own womb. But he hadn't expected his junior to drop by. Wu Feng, with an angry expression, chided. "Senior, I came here to warn you. You can't mix bamboo demongrass with purple thunder fruit. It produces a potent toxin." Ye Feng gave an awkward laugh and discreetly used the spending points to detoxify himself. In just a moment, his feet returned to their original state. Wu Feng was once again taken aback. This toxin was notoriously difficult to treat. But what rendered him speechless was, Ye Feng went on to soak his feet again, now with the system's detox method. Ye Feng wasn't worried. He wanted to fully enjoy this medicinal bath. At worst, he'd detoxify himself through the system again. And not only could the system detoxify him, it could detoxify others too. Seeing this, Ye Feng grinned. "Junior Wu Feng, come join me. My foot tub is big enough. This medicinal bath will feel amazing. Don't worry about the toxins. I'll handle that for you." Wu Feng was flabbergasted. This was toxic water. He couldn't bear to watch any longer. He decided to bid farewell to Ye Feng. At that moment, Wu Feng wondered whether he should inform the sect leader. He mistakenly believed that the precious herbs belonged to the sect. But after some thought, he wasn't one to snitch. So, he left, feeling rather helpless. After Ye Feng finished his soak, he used the system to detoxify again. Then, spending 900 spending points, he elevated his cultivation to the 9th level of the Qi activation realm. Meanwhile, inside the main hall of the sect leader, Luo QianXue was discussing Ye Feng's background with Old Bai. Old Bai suggested that over time, things will become clear. What truly concerned Old Bai was, this young man had the power to disturb the young Mrs. emotions. Every time Luo QianXue thought of Ye Feng, she'd grit her teeth in anger, feeling as though he was a curse sent by the heavens. And Long Wu Feng was no different, he was just the same. At that moment, the two sensed an immense spiritual power gathering. Coming from the disciples' quarters, Old Bai found this phenomenon very familiar, yet he felt it was improbable. After all, Ye Feng had just broken through to the peak of Spirit Sea Realm's 9th level. How could he break through again? Old Bai still had vivid memories of the last time, although he couldn't believe it. Ye Feng was someone who defied conventional logic. They could only wait for the breakthrough anomaly to end, then they would know if it was indeed Ye Feng. But after just sensing the Qi activation realm's aura, they were certain it was Ye Feng. Yet, the phenomenon didn't stop. Ye Feng kept on breaking through. In the blink of an eye, he reached the 3rd level of the Qi activation realm. In mere moments, he progressed to the peak of the Qi activation realm's 9th level. This left Old Bai truly exhilarated, silently cheering for Ye Feng, hoping he could reach the merging spirit realm. However, the breakthrough phenomenon soon ended. The whole process lasted about 5 minutes. Old Bai was once again astounded by this spectacle. This cultivation speed could arguably be described as the best in the XuanTian Continent. Luo QianXue was utterly disheartened. No wonder that man was so confident before. He truly didn't need her guidance. But this thought made her feel a looming threat. Old Bai, do you think he might surpass me as the sect leader in a few days? Old Bai, hearing this, felt exceedingly awkward. It seemed he had praised Ye Feng too much. Dending the young Mrs. Confidence, he hastened to console her, assuring her that it wouldn't be the case. The higher the realm, the harder it is to advance. Not only opportunities are needed, but also resources and elixirs. Especially after reaching the foundation realm, the demands are even more significant. Free Feng to catch up to you. There's still a long way to go. While Old Bai verbally comforted her, internally, he felt concerned. He believed Ye Feng might genuinely catch up. Meanwhile, Lung Wufeng was also incredibly shocked. Is this really his unreliable senior brother? Such a formidable feat, he had broken through 9 realms in one breath. No wonder his grandfather wanted him to stay here. It seems he needs to put in more effort too. The next day, Ye Feng woke up from a deep sleep. Today, he received 10,000 Tier 3 to 9 pattern clear mysterious pills as a spending product, but was left with only 310 spending points. Seeing this, Ye Feng was filled with regret. He shouldn't have been so flamboyant the previous day, wasting 2,000 points just to detoxify his feet for a soak. However, today's spending product seemed perfect for annoying his junior. If that's the case, he wouldn't hold back. He looked forward to seeing Wu Feng's reaction when asked about the effects of these pills. It would surely be entertaining. Elsewhere, Wu Feng sneezed out of the blue. An ominous premonition. At this moment, Ye Feng arrived at his junior brother's residence, only to find him missing. He thought that Wu Feng, feeling defeated from yesterday, had taken the chance to run away. Just then, Old Bai appeared, informing him that QianXue had gone to a nearby town to buy spiritual herbs. He then offered to take Ye Feng along. Seeing this, Ye Feng was incredibly excited, eager to see and learn. However, what he didn't expect was that even the closest town required 5 hours of flying time. With nothing to do, he began to chat with Old Bai, asking about the uses of the bamboo demon grass, white spirit flower, and purple thunder fruit. Old Bai said that these spiritual herbs were among the rarest of 3rd-tier spiritual herbs, priceless to an alchemist. As for their uses, it's better to ask Wu Feng, as he wasn't very familiar himself. Ye Feng laughed, realizing how precious they actually were. No wonder when he used these herbs for a foot soak yesterday. Wu Feng accused him of being wasteful. Hearing this, Old Bai abruptly halted his flying sword. Staring with bewilderment, "You used them for a foot soak?" Ye Feng grinned mischievously. "Exactly. Maybe I'll let you try it sometime. It feels absolutely invigorating." Although Old Bai didn't understand where Ye Feng got such precious materials from, he knew he had to get on Ye Feng's good side, hoping that in the future, Ye Feng would remember to share some with him. After several hours, they finally arrived at the nearby town. Old Bai, having matters to attend to, left first, promising to meet up with Ye Feng later. Before leaving, he warned Ye Feng not to cause any trouble. Feeling abandoned, Ye Feng grumbled, "So you just brought me along for the ride." At this moment, Old Bai felt truly relieved. Now he could hang out with his friends. Later, Ye Feng began to wander around, curious about everything. He even almost entered a brothel. In the end, he arrived at the Tianyu auction house, ready to indulge in some spending. But he was concerned about exposing his wealth and attracting trouble. Unexpectedly, the system took care of his worries, providing him with the Divine Tycoon's Guard. Should his life be in danger, the Divine Tycoon's Guard would appear to resolve the crisis. However, it was not. It would only eliminate threats directly endangering the host. Seeing this, Ye Feng couldn't help but laugh. Truly an unbeatable spendthrift system. Now he could splurge without any worries. With that, he confidently walked into the auction house. Upon entering, he told the attendant that he had elixirs to auction off, who then introduced him to the in-charge 6th-tier alchemist named XuanTian. Upon meeting, Ye Feng presented the fruit of his indulgence, the clear mysterious pill. Seeing this, XuanTian didn't think much of it. It was just a 3rd-tier elixir and wasn't worth much. However, upon closer inspection, he was taken aback. It was a 9-striped clear mysterious pill, which startled him profoundly. Confused, Ye Feng asked, "Is this pill really that strong?" XuanTian excitedly replied, "Extremely powerful. Even though it's just a 3rd-tier clear mysterious pill, the process to refine it is intricate. A single mistake could make the pill incomplete. This 9-striped version maximizes the pill's effects. Even in the market, I've only seen 8 striped ones. Yet, when it came to the number of stripes XuanTian was talking about, Ye Feng appeared clueless and didn't understand. XuanTian continued to explain, a complete elixir is of the 10-stripe level. Each stripe represents 10% of its efficacy. Ye Feng wasn't really listening, thinking this guy was so long-winded. Watching him boast, Ye Feng and impatient Ye Feng just wanted to know the price. How much can this pill sell for? Only then did XuanTian mention the price. A regular 3rd-tier pill costs around 100,000 lower-tier spirit stones. But this high-quality 9-striped clear mysterious pill's price was hard to determine. Only an auction could reveal its value. Ye Feng was stunned. This broken pill can be worth at least 100,000 lower-tier spirit stones? He hadn't expected that, especially since he had previously spent 600,000 upper-tier spirit stones for a disciple's position and hiring Old Bai to throw at him. XuanTian was taken aback. You refer to this 9-striped clear mysterious pill as a broken pill? It made him feel as if he were dealing with junk. Then Ye Feng inquired when the next auction was. XuanTian mentioned there was one in the afternoon. With that, Ye Feng handed him another 9-striped clear mysterious pill. You directly contact the auction head and add these 2 pills to the afternoon auction. I'll collect the money later. Seeing Ye Feng's arrogance, XuanTian was quite agitated. From a distance, Ye Feng's mumbling could be heard. I wonder which fool would bid for such an expensive pill. This left XuanTian feeling perplexed. Wouldn't that make him look like a fool as well? Ye Feng, while walking, continued to consume clear mysterious pills. After all, he had 10,000 of them to consume today. At that moment, he noticed a stray dog nearby. Seeing the pitiful dog, Ye Feng fetched a large bun, planning to adopt this little yellow. Of course, Ye Feng had his motives. With only so many people including his beautiful master, Old Bai, and junior brother, they couldn't finish all the 9-striped clear mysterious pills. Now, with little yellow, they could consume them faster. Furthermore, with many more elixirs to waste in the future, little yellow could help. Unaware of the impending tragedy, little yellow was just enjoying its happy moments. Next, Ye Feng decided to give little yellow a bath. Afterward, they would get to work. He took little yellow to a restaurant, but the dog was filthy. The waiter wouldn't let it in. Ye Feng countered, just tell me how many spirit stones it costs. Give me a premium room. I want to bathe my dog. However, the waiter seemed quite firm. No amount of money would allow little yellow inside. Ye Feng was frustrated. Why are you so inflexible? However, Ye Feng said, when Ye Feng pulled out a substantial sum of spirit stones, the waiter quickly brought hot water. But Ye Feng was somewhat upset. He paid 10 times the price for the room, yet the system didn't count it as wasteful behavior. Little yellow looked at him, puzzled. Ye Feng urged it to clean up quickly. Once cleaned, they had to get back to work. Upon a closer look, Ye Feng thought the dog was somewhat dumb. He'd need to find a way to awaken its spiritual intelligence. At that moment, Ye Feng had little yellow start consuming the clear mysterious pills. Oblivious little yellow happily munched on, but it wouldn't be long before it would regret it. Ye Feng was amused, planning to use little yellow as a tool to consume any wasteful elixirs or herbs. After leaving some clear mysterious pills for little yellow, Ye Feng went out for a stroll, unbeknownst to him. Not long after he left, with the aid of the clear mysterious pills, little yellow awakened its spiritual intelligence. Its appearance changed significantly. A few hours later, Ye Feng returned and woke the slumbering little yellow, saying, "You're really slacking. You've only eaten just over 2,000 clear mysterious pills, and you're already lazy?" Upon waking, Ye Feng said, little yellow howled in protest. It couldn't eat anymore. Seeing this, Ye Feng had no choice but to sleep alongside it to help digest. Being a wasteful tycoon was truly exhausting. While little yellow slept, the thousands of clear mysterious pills were transforming it towards becoming a mythical beast. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Ye Feng Old Bai was chatting leisurely with an old friend, Old Sia. Old Sia began boasting, "Do you know what I just received at the auction branch? 2 special 3rd-tier clear mysterious pills. Do you know how many stripes they have? You've been fussing about it all morning. They must be over 7 striped clear mysterious pills, right? Who refined them? Old Sia made a 9 with his fingers. 9 stripes, and there are 2 of them. I don't know who refined them. I only know a young man brought them to be auctioned. I've personally inspected them. They're near perfection, very close to a 10-striped pill. Old Bai was incredibly surprised. Do you know the name of that young man? Old Xia spread his hands. I don't. He didn't leave his name, only the pills for auction. For some reason, Old Bai immediately thought of Ye Feng. Especially when Old Xia added, from what I've heard, the young man seemed indifferent about the 2 pills. Connecting the dots, Old Bai was almost certain that it was Ye Feng's doing. For a moment, he thought. He was at a loss for words and suggested they visit Ye Feng. Old Xiao looked puzzled. What's so special about your lady's personal disciple? Old Bai wasn't sure how to explain and just told him to follow along. Meanwhile, in the Tianyu auction house, Luo QianXue was attending the auction. She happened to see Feng's 2 clear mysterious pills. Unaware of their origin, she intended to bid for them and then use them for Ye Feng and Wu Feng. Luo QianXue's thought was to regain face in front of them, especially in front of Ye Feng. She believed he wouldn't have such a precious pill, and she looked forward to seeing him worship her for it. The thought made her laugh with delight. At that moment, Old Bai and Old Xia arrived outside Ye Feng's room. After knocking for a while with no answer, could he be asleep? Old Bai was irritated. A qualified cultivator shouldn't waste precious time sleeping. He then decisively kicked the door open and shouted for Ye Feng to wake up. However, when they saw the full dog plate of clear mysterious pills on the table and the scattered remnants of clear mysterious pills on the ground, both of them were stunned. Ye Feng, awakened by the noise and looking drowsy, greeted Old Bai. Why did you come over all of a sudden? Have you finished your tasks? Then noticing the dog on the floor, he chided, You silly dog, always sleeping. Why haven't you finished these pills yet? At this point, Little Yellow, showing a human-like disdain for the clear mysterious pills, kicked them away. Both Old Bai and Old Sia were stunned by this sight. These were 9 striped clear mysterious pills. They would have treasured them, yet here was a dog disdaining them. Old Sia, particularly shocked, thought, I, a 9th-tier alchemist and the hidden boss of the Tianyu auction house, am being upstaged by a dog. Old Bai, observing closely, remarked, This dog seems extraordinary. Look at the spiritual energy from the surroundings being drawn into its body. It doesn't have the bloodline of a beast, but it seems to be transforming into one. There are no impurities in its body. Old Xia, in disbelief, asked Ye Feng, just how many clear mysterious pills did you feed this dog? Ye Feng pondered for a moment and replied, Not many, maybe about 2,000. Upon hearing Ye Feng's words, Old Xia spit out a mouthful of old blood. He then, unable to contain his anger, grabbed Old Bai by the collar. Over 2,000. Is this what the disciples of Star Soul sect are like? Feeding such precious 9 striped clear mysterious pills to a dog, and you didn't even intervene? Old Bai helplessly replied, How can I intervene? The kid is so wealthy that even I work for him. Old Xia, in disbelief, said, You, one of the 8 elders of the Star Extreme sect, in a tribulation-crossing realm powerhouse, are working for a disciple? Old Bai shrugged, I have no choice. He pays too well. Seeing the situation, Ye Feng took the opportunity to ask Old Bai for another favor. Same old terms, 100,000 top-grade spirit stones. Without hesitation, Old Bai agreed. Just say the word, I'm still strong and can do anything. Ye Feng revealed he had over 7,000 more clear mysterious pills that needed to be consumed by the end of the day. Your teeth should still be good enough, right? Old Bai confidently responded, Are you joking? I'm still young. My teeth are in perfect condition. Old Xia, witnessing this exchange, was dumbfounded. You just agreed that casually? And aren't you wearing dentures? Ye Feng then poured a mountain of clear mysterious pills onto the table, once again shocking Old Xia. After pouring them out, Ye Feng smiled. Old Bai, dig in. Old Bai's eyes sparkled with excitement. These are 9 striped clear mysterious pills. I never thought I'd be treated to such a surprise at my age. He then started consuming the pills voraciously, crunching them loudly. Ye Feng, no longer paying attention to Old Bai, turned to Little Yellow. Your turn, silly dog. Keep eating. If you don't finish by the end of the day, I'll stew you. Watching the unbelievable scene before him, Old Zhao's entire worldview shifted. He wondered if he was dreaming. At that moment, Ye Feng was cheering on Old Bai like a cheerleader. Old Bai, however, was starting to feel full, although he didn't expect the clear mysterious pills to taste so good. The sheer quantity was overwhelming. For some reason, while looking at the 9 striped clear mysterious pills, Old Bai began to reminisce about the past. Back then, he struggled just to consume a single 5 striped clear mysterious pill. Thinking about this, tears streamed down his face. If only he had acquired these 9 striped pills 60 years earlier, his cultivation foundation would have been even stronger. Ye Feng thought Old Bai was crying because he was too full, so he comforted him. If you can't eat anymore, it's okay. You'll still get the 100,000 top-grade spirit stones. Old CI intervened. Kid, you don't understand. If back in the day, Old Bai and I had access to the 9 striped clear mysterious pills, we probably would have passed the 9-tiered thunder tribulation and ascended long ago. We wouldn't be in this hopeless situation now. Both of the old fellows were only at the 3rd tier of the tribulation crossing realm. Although they could potentially cross the 4th tribulation, their foundations were too weak to risk it. Understanding their predicament, Ye Feng said, "In that case, could you perhaps assist Old Bai in the future? I'll still compensate you with 100,000 top-grade spirit stones, including for this time." Hearing this, Old Xia was flabbergasted, his previous sorrow disappearing instantly. He rubbed his hands together and asked, "Even though I'm not from your sect, can I still participate?" Ye Feng nodded, signaling it was okay. Seeing this, Old Xia eagerly approached a pile of clear mysterious pills. Just like that, the 2 old men and the dog began their pill-gorging session. Yet, Ye Feng felt the consumption speed was still too slow and wondered when his master and junior brother Wu Feng would arrive. Old Bai, with a full belly, inquired, "The 2 clear mysterious pills at Tianyu auction house were yours, weren't they?" Ye Feng confirmed, "Yes, I placed those mediocre pills there just to see who the fool would be to buy them." Old Xia was dumbfounded. A single pill selling for 1 million low-grade spirit stones is not considered expensive, yet you put it up for auction just to mock the buyer? Meanwhile, Luo QianXue, holding the 2 purchased pills, was hurrying towards Ye Feng. Wu Feng was thrilled, not expecting their master to be so generous, and eagerly raced to Ye Feng's room to share the news. Luo QianXue was also quite smug, eagerly anticipating Ye Feng's reaction. She thought, "Regardless of your wealth, I doubt you could get the 9 striped clear mysterious pills." However, when she reached Ye Feng's door, she saw Wu Feng frozen in place. And with that, we conclude this chapter. I hope you enjoyed today's content. If you did, don't forget to smash that like button. Let's aim for 200 likes on this video. If you're excited for the next installment, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care,